Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Compassion and Courage Conversations in Healthcare. I'm your host, Marcus Engel. With me is the hostess, Marveline Engel. Hi, babe.
Hello, nice to see you.
Yeah, through the internet. So, what we do here on this podcast is we teach compassionate communication, provide perspective, and inspire resilience. And as this is a podcast and it is not in a some big formal studio in a high rise somewhere with glass partitions all around, I'm recording this in my home office, and of course, the yard guy shows up just as we start to record. So I apologize for the sound of weed eaters and lawnmowers in the background, like that right there.
I know, I was laughing so hard that we hit record and the truck pulls up. It's like,
Yes,
it happens every time. So welcome to real
Murphy's
life.
Law, apparently. Yeah, real life, real perspective. So we wanted to share with you today some rather exciting news. Dun, 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 dun. And that is that I'm Here, Compassionate Communication and Patient Care, my book, is finally available in Audible. It's finally available on audible.com. You can go there, and the first question that I get about it is, Marcus, did you narrate it? Yes. And that's where the story gets a little wonky because, as you can probably imagine, for the last however many years it's been since the book came out, the only way I had to read my own book was through a word processing program on my computer. And of course, reading a synthesized voice, hearing things through a synthesized voice, trying to read, loses a lot of what the story is about, right? And so it's been a long, hard struggle, but we finally have I'm Here on Audible. Yay!
Yay.
So we wanted to give you a little bit of the background about how this came to be. When did you first notice, I suppose, that I was not going to put this idea down until it happened because it took a long time, but I was not going to put the idea aside. Do you remember how much we struggled to try to figure out a way to do this?
I absolutely do, because this project has been years in the making. You love Audible and those books that way. And I do too. I know a lot of our friends, a lot of followers and subscribers use Audible too. I do print and I do audio, and you do audio. And you wanted it on Audible so bad. We all did. And it was like, well, we can't have somebody else read this with the same understanding and power that Marcus would have reading this. So, decision made. It has to be Marcus as the narrator. But then the huge question of how. And
How?
your technology fascinates a lot of people. So, why
Yeah,
don't you talk just real briefly about what your technology
sure.
is?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually, instead of just telling you about it, I'm actually going to let you hear it here in the
Oh,
background.
good.
Yeah, now did you understand any of that? Probably not, because you're not used to it, and I've got it sped up for a speed that I'm comfortable with. The thing of it is, though, is you can't have that voice read a book either. That would lose so much of the meaning and the emotion behind the words and the tone of the book. So yeah, it has to be me. But how do we then? How do we make a recording that doesn't, where the listener does not have to listen to, they don't have to listen to my screen reading software. They only have to listen to my voice. Well, that's going to present some issues. So, um,
Well,
yeah, it was a difficult adventure.
well, we certainly did not want a mechanical voice. And just in case anyone did not understand, it sounds like it's a different language that nobody else has heard when your computer starts talking like that. But Um, what it is, it's the same sentence, I am here, and you just get to double, triple, quadruple the speed so that just like some speed people read faster than others when they're actually reading a book, you listen faster than like
Correct.
anybody, and it helps you
Both
buzz through stuff and you understand
both
it.
on Yes, both on Audible books and through email and through word processing. I feel really old saying word processing. Does anybody even
I
say that
don't think
anymore?
so.
Data
I
entry,
don't think
whatever.
so.
Um, Word creation, let's say that. Uh, so I'm always listening to everything technology wise, whether it's coming synthesized voice coming through my phone or it's coming through my computer or um, other talking devices. I have them sped up. My computer is no different than anyone else's computer. I'm using I don't even remember the brand of it, just typical laptop that
Lenovo.
I bought at Best Buy. Yeah, Lenovo, I believe. There we go. One of those. Yeah, but you got me on the
I
right
know it's
page with
called
the L,
yoga
right?
because the
Yoga. There you
top
go.
flips over. Oh,
So it's just a typical laptop. The only difference is that mine has an extra software package on it that is called JAWS. And JAWS is made by a company called Freedom Scientific, which is based here in Florida. And they make products for people with visual disabilities, some motor neuron type disabilities, and they make the world a lot more accessible for individuals who are living with some type of disability. So I love the company and I love the product that I've been using now for close to 30 years. But we can't have that product come through on the audio recording of I'm here. So we had to go into the studio with certain types of tiny earbuds that would fit over the cans in the studio. Cans is a fancy word for headphones, if you're not familiar with the lingo. And I was had to listen to each sentence and then repeat it back. And sometimes sentences, you want to get it exactly right. So it would take not just a minute for me to read through a sentence on the computer and recite it back, but I would have to read through it two or three or four times to memorize it to recite it back. Contrary to popular belief, I do not have my own books memorized. So it was a task to go through it, and it probably took at least 50% as long as it would have taken a
oh.
quote unquote average or normal sighted person to read it.
I'm going to say
Maybe
it's
even a lot
way
longer than
longer
that.
than that
A lot longer than
because
that.
you have to hear it, but we also have to not have anything in the studio hear it, including the click of your finger every time you touched it to advance to another um, sentence or page. There would be like a little click sound, and none of those are allowed to be in there to get an actual audible audiobook. And that was the goal. That's kind of the most accessible standard for everybody because it comes
Mhm.
on most everybody's phone. Um, so having to figure out a way to get all that background noise gone, you to speak, squish together your speaking so that it flows. It took a lot. It took a village of very, very dedicated people spending hours being patient, having diligence. It took so much patience from you. We spent days and days and days and days in the studio I think it comes out to around 3 hour book. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's not a long read, as you know, and it just took so much time. I've been completely obsessed with reading Keith Richards' autobiography and hearing about the Rolling Stones' time in the studio. And while I am nowhere near a professional musician, working on this project was very much like being in the studio saying, "Oh, we need to cut that word out of the recording, or we need to lengthen that pause." Uh, there was a lot of editing that went into this because of all the clicks that had to be removed. And anytime there was bleed from my headphones into the microphone, we had to remove that. So it was a tedious process going over the audio files with a fine tooth comb. Plus, we had our village that actually went outside of the U.S. borders to, I believe, Venezuela is where one of our audio engineers was. So we actually took this project already to South America.
Hey, we sure did. And yes, we were in a professional recording studio. We had an amazing sound engineer who was very creative and thoughtful and paid such great attention. And then to get through Audible, you still have to send it to a place that can make the tone a certain frequency and tone in the back room. And I'm not going to try to explain that because I don't understand it, but we hired someone who did. And then you have the whole process of doing a sample to Audible, and then they approve it or disapprove it, and then they put it on, and then you finally have this on audible.com. And I cannot wait for you to listen to it. I know we get such amazing feedback from the print copy. And if you are a print reader, not an Audible person, you need to be sure you have this. It is really, it's really a phenomenal book. And we have that feedback so often. If you have read it, it's a whole nother level when you get to hear Marcus read it. It really, really is. And maybe I'm a little prejudiced, but I don't think I am. We've gotten enough feedback already that that is the experience people are having, and they're using it in book studies, or if you're in healthcare, they're using it in huddles, reading or playing Mark, just doing just a piece of something, some point for the week. Absolutely. You need to get a copy of this, and it's very affordable. And we're very excited. Can you tell? We've
Yeah,
been
we really
buzzing.
are.
We've been buzzing because like it's the last 6 months, it was like I can see the finish line. I can see the finish line. We're almost there. And we celebrated the day that it came out and was actually live.
I tell you what, too, I didn't get to listen to the book beginning to end, or even a full chapter, I don't think, throughout the editing process. So I went into it a little blindly, so to pardon the phraseology there. But I went into it having not really an idea how it came out, and once I listened to it, I just kept smiling because even though there's a lot of pretty horrific memories wrapped up in that book, um, the audiobook came out just like I wanted it to. And I'm very proud of that. The book came out how I wanted it to. The audiobook came out how I wanted it to. And really, I'm just super touched that so many people seem to love I'm Here, and that it's being used with so many nursing schools and allied health programs around the country and curriculum. It's just such a delight to know that people are learning and evolving and finding deeper levels of compassion because of my experiences.
I could not agree more. And it's very rare for you to be happy with your own thing.
Mm.
You are quite the perfectionist, Mr. Engel. Um,
I'm my own worst
you
critic,
are your
as most
own
people are.
critic. That's right. We all tend to be that way. I think I love most about this book is that you don't have to actually be in healthcare to find inspiration and encouragement. And it can help you with just dealing with relationships. If you live on this planet and you interact with other people ever, it's going to give you'll walk away. I'm going to say that again. If you live on this planet and you interact with other people ever, it's going to give you insight and strategies in how to have closer, better, more authentic, vulnerable relationships, that it just helps everybody. And you leave feeling, I, I know you don't love this word, Mark, but you leave feeling inspired when you finish it. You really do. I've listened to it a few times now because I it's even a pick me up for me, and I know the story and I live with you and I know the things, and it still always resonates with something that I need at the time.
So we want to thank everyone who has ever read I'm
Yes.
Here for taking the time to do so. But if you've already read I'm Here, I really would encourage you to go get the Audible version. It's a completely different experience, and we just want to keep spreading it out to the world. And one of the ways that if you like the book and you want to help us, we would really appreciate any reviews or uh, what do you call that besides review?
Comment,
Reviews,
but
comments,
only good
etc.
ones.
Oh.
If you have a negative
No,
one,
honestly,
send it to us privately and we'll work on
yeah, there you go, there you go. Yeah, send it to me and I'll
it.
talk to you about
But it
it.
really does help us whenever you review, on Kindle, wherever you get your books, Kindle, Audible, when you review stuff, it really helps us and gives insight for other people searching for inspiration that maybe haven't heard of Marcus before. And don't we all want all of our healthcare providers to have a great skill of being compassionate and communicating effectively? So spread the word. And it helps us a lot too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for being with us today on this episode of Compassion and Courage Conversations in Healthcare. Again, this is the podcast where we teach compassionate communication, provide perspective, and inspire resilience. Please visit marcusengel.com for your needs for compassion training, for keynote speaking, for lectures, or books. We very much appreciate all of the feedback on the podcast and the comments and the ratings and reviews. So thank you all for doing that. And we will catch you all next time on the next episode of Compassion and Courage.
Thank you.